What's up, y'all? I'm Nate.
I'm David. Welcome to Nate's Basketball Analysis.
Today, we are discussing current topics in the NBA and our takes on each of those topics. We'll be discussing a few different things. Who we think is winning their first ring in their career between 4 different players. I'll name those in a moment. A random discussion about who you would pick to start your franchise with. What cities are next to get an NBA team? A hot take about the Golden State Warriors. Jaylen Brown's $304 million contract extension. And Bronny James' heart attack. David, which one do you want to start us off with here? Which topic are you most interested in?
Let's start with who we pick to start a franchise with.
Okay, so I've got 6 players that I think would be interesting for this discussion. 1, Trae Young. 2, De'Aaron Fox. 3, LaMelo Ball. 4, Tyrese Halliburton. 5, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Or 6, Ja Morant. And I almost feel like number 6 is unfair because he's an amazing player. But he's been a little crazy in the news as of late. So do you need me to repeat those for you?
Are we assuming that Ja Morant acts like a rational person, or are we assuming
that... Nope. All things involved.
Okay.
This goes for social. This goes for, how they play on the court, how they behave professionally, all of that.
Okay. If that's the case, I'm going with De'Aaron Fox.
Okay. So he had a tough start in Sacramento. He's been a fantastic player. As of late, this past season, they finally made the playoffs. Looked really good. Took the Golden State Warriors to 7 games. And then Golden State knocked him out first round. So a couple questions to go with this. Do you think that they will get past the first round this year? And do you feel like that changes anything because it took them so long? Like, do you think it took getting Domantas Sabonis in Sacramento to get De'Aaron Fox over the hump? I don't know that I would select him.
I would probably pick them to get out of the first round. If I remember right, he left, or the Sacramento Kings were holding on pretty well with the Golden State Warriors until he injured his finger during the playoffs. I think they could have had a decent shot at beating the Warriors if he had been healthy.
Okay.
As far as taking 5 years, I mean, the Kings have been bad for a long time, and obviously no player by themselves can win and really get out of the first round if they're trying to do it by themselves. I think the Sabonis acquisition was a good one and it helped them, but clearly De'Aaron Fox was the primary reason they were getting there.
Okay. And I'll point out that it's rare when trades happen that it's beneficial for both organizations. But in the case of the Indiana Pacers and the Sacramento Kings making the trade for Tyrese Halliburton and Domantas Sabonis, it was beneficial for both. I don't know that I would pick Tyrese Halliburton of those 6 that I named. I'd probably go with... That's tough. Either Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Ja Morant. Ja Morant for talent and Shai more for level-headedness, and he is talented. But I don't know. I don't know why I don't pick De'Aaron Fox, honestly. He really is a good player. I just don't think that he was able to do it by himself. And to argue the point that you said, I would say LeBron James is one person that was able to carry a team by himself. To the finals, in fact. Even though I'm not a LeBron fan at all. And that is pointed out by so many people. It's like an image that comes up and it says, look at this roster. And it's got LeBron and then a whole bunch of no-name people.
Yeah.
So
I think that team that LeBron was with, those guys were past their prime, but Antoine Jameson was really good. What was the other guy who they had? They had another guy.
Richard Jefferson? Is that who you said? No, you didn't say Richard Jefferson.
No, I said Antoine Jameson. It wasn't Richard Jefferson. They had one more guy on that Cavaliers team.
There's J.R. Smith. He's pretty decent. He's getting older in years, but and there were multiple years that he went back to the finals, so I couldn't necessarily name that image. I just think it's funny, and that one came to mind when you said nobody can carry a team by themselves. Which, anyways, moving on from that. Okay, the topic I want to pick next. Are we done with that one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let's move on to the next one.
All right, here's our hot take on the Golden State Warriors. Here's my question for you. Will the Golden State Warriors ever make it back to the NBA Finals again? And is the dynasty over?
The dynasty is over. I don't want to say that they'll never make it back to the finals, but I don't see them making it back.
I should clarify, as presently constructed with their three main pieces. Draymond, Clay, and Steph.
I don't see that team getting back to the finals without a really good fourth player.
Okay.
They just don't. Those guys are. Clay doesn't look like Clay anymore. Steph obviously, he's Steph. His game has aged very well.
Yeah.
Still very good.
Yeah.
But Draymond's game, like he's definitely past his prime. Also, his game is just too aggressive for him to really, for it to age well.
And adding Chris Paul, you don't think that makes a difference? It makes them better necessarily?
No, because Chris Paul is, how old is he? Like 38, 39? I don't remember how old.
He's not that old. I think he's 37, maybe 38. You might be right. He's about LeBron's age. I think he was drafted the year after.
He was drafted the year after. I don't think Chris Paul is going to add much to that team other than being an occasional spark off the bench.
Okay. If he does come off the bench, I know that's an interesting topic for the Warriors right now to figure out, so I'm interested to see how that turns out. I'll also add that Steph said that he's in the prime of his career right now, and he also said that the team now makes sense, which it's never really made sense before, and that's been good for them. So, I don't know. The more and more I think about it, I just always underestimate them, and then they do really well. So I don't know what I would say on that. I would still say that they have a little bit of drive with all that experience that they could make it back to the finals again. So, kind of pushing for them this year. I don't necessarily like Chris Paul either, but that'd be cool to see him win a ring with them. So, okay.
Yeah.
Next topic. What do you think?
Next topic. Let's go with who's winning a ring first in their career.
Okay. All right. There's 4 players that I've picked between Donovan Mitchell, Luka Doncic, Paul George, and James Harden. Between those 4 players, who do you think will win their first NBA championship, if any?
I'll go with Luka.
Luka?
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to win it with the Mavs, or do you think he is going to go to another franchise and win?
If I were him, I would stay with the Mavs.
You think Mark Cuban's finally going to get it done, huh?
Yeah. Mark Cuban has put together a lot of really good teams, and obviously a lot of those teams were led by Dirk. But I still think that the Dallas Mavericks are probably the best organization of the ones you mentioned, or have the best organization of the players that you mentioned. I'm picking Luka.
So you don't think Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs will make any noise? You don't think they'll make necessary moves to put them in playoff contention necessarily.
I think they'll make moves, but I don't see them beating the teams out in the East.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paul George with the Clippers not getting it done this year. They're not going to do anything.
The Clippers are never going to get it done. And Harden, I always have really high hopes for James Harden.
Do you really?
And he never fails to disappoint.
That is so funny.
That 1 year in the bubble, they had Houston had a better team than the Lakers, and somehow Houston still got crushed because James Harden always seems to shrink in the really hard moments. Paul George is really good. I just don't have any faith in the Clippers, and Kawhi always seems to have something going on that stops them from being great or reaching their potential. And then I don't think. I mean, the Cavs are in Cleveland, and Cleveland, rightfully so, is usually the laughing stock of sports towns.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with Luka.
Okay, that's a good choice. My opinion on that, the only thing that I would argue differently is just because you brought franchises into it. The Cavs have won. I guess they only have one championship. That's with
So do the
LeBron,
Mavs.
and Donovan is no LeBron. So that is a valid statement. The Mavs also only have one championship. That's in 2011 with Dirk. And that was kind of a miracle run, honestly, if you look at the teams that they beat. So one of the most impressive championship runs of all time in 2011. Paul George.
Well, let me remind. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna remind you that LeBron was afraid to post up JJ Barea that year. So yeah, that was a miracle.
I do remember that. That's pretty funny. JJ Barea went into the locker room of the Cavaliers and said some things, which maybe got in LeBron's head, but it's funny. It's laughable now. So, and Paul George, the only thing that I would say there, I'm going to say that James Harden is not going to do it. But Paul George, they actually have to play hard this year. If they want to get any kind of extension, which it's not happening now because they know what they've gotten themselves into with him and Kawhi. But they're both going to have to play hard if they want to set a good reputation in the NBA moving forward. Because they've just kind of gone to that team and essentially have made it really tough for Steve Ballmer to ever recover from that. Trading all of those assets and trading one of their greatest players in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander away to OKC.
Yeah. Do you think Russell Westbrook will ever learn to take smart shots?
No.
Okay. That's a concern. That's the big concern I have. The biggest concern I have with the Clippers.
Yeah, I didn't even think to include him in that. That's pretty funny, actually. No, his shot selection is not great. And he just seems like he's building a brick house.
Yeah.
So, alright, interesting there. So, Luka. I think we both agree on Luka. Poor James Harden, man. That's tough for him. I think he had a great team in Houston. I think he had a really good shot at it with Chris Paul. If they had kept it together when the Warriors had a few rough years with injuries there, I think they could have won a championship, but they decided to blow everything up because they were like, there's that team over there in Golden State that's always going to keep us from a championship. Man, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, next city to get an NBA team. What are your thoughts? There's a couple on the map that have been mentioned.
The logical choice is Seattle.
Okay.
Because they've already had a team. I expect at some point, there will be enough nostalgia for the Seattle Supersonics that they'll just bring them back.
Are they going to continue the name if Seattle gets their team back?
I would think so.
Okay. And then Vegas.
Yeah.
Vegas is very logical too, I would say. And LeBron wants to be the owner of a team in Vegas.
Oh, I didn't know about
You
that.
didn't know that, huh?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's interesting to me. I think Vegas is feasible, but then you have two more teams in the West. So you have to take one of the other teams and put them in the East. If not those, Adam Silver has also mentioned a second team somewhere in Canada. And that's probably the Vancouver area again, like we used to have the Grizzlies there.
Right.
Or potentially even expanding to Mexico. And I thought that was cool too. So,
Yeah.
do you think any of those are logical?
I don't know that they're necessarily logical. I think it would be cool if the NBA expanded a little more internationally.
Do you think that would increase viewers of the NBA?
Yeah, I think it would, because it would open up an entire new market, or you know, it would kind of give a new market, a new sport to watch. You know, obviously Mexico City is the capital of Mexico if they were to go there. As far as Vancouver, I don't know how big it would be there. I don't really have a lot of information about how big the Vancouver Grizzlies were, but you know, they obviously got moved to Memphis, so I do question how effective that would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on from those. We have two additional topics to discuss. Bronny's heart attack, which is kind of old news now, but we still wanted to touch on it.
Yeah.
And then Jaylen Brown's $304 million contract extension. Which one do you want to discuss first?
Let's talk about Jaylen Brown. Okay,
Jaylen Brown. Tell me your thoughts on that. Good idea or bad idea by the Celtics to extend him?
That was a bad idea.
Okay, I figured you'd say that.
I don't know how they were going to replace him. They obviously got Kristaps Porzingis, which I think is going to be good for them to have a versatile big. I have serious reservations about Jaylen Brown. I don't think I'm the only person. I mean, it's pretty clear that the guy can only dribble with one hand.
He can only go right.
Yeah, he can only go right.
Jason Tatum, same thing.
I don't know necessarily that Jason Tatum always goes right. Maybe he does, but the one thing is, Jaylen Brown always loses the ball if he goes to his left, and you know, he turns it over. I don't know, a good 25 to 40% of the time. The times I've seen him go left, and it just doesn't work for him. It's fine, you know, if you can go right and you can beat your defender, that works.
Mm-hmm.
But Jaylen Brown seems to think that he can go left, and he just can't.
If they hadn't offered it to him, though, do you think he probably would have left in free agency? He could have gotten the most with the Celtics, and he obviously was eligible for that. So I think that they just rewarded him just because. But I think these numbers are getting outrageous. $304 million over 5 years, the largest in NBA history to date. And I mean, people are saying, "Oh, next year you have no idea what Jason Tatum's going to get. $318 million," right? It just keeps going up. So honestly, I don't think it's a bad idea. I think he's still tradable, and he's young enough that it's fine. I also think that it keeps the key pieces for the Celtics in place right now. And with Kristaps Porzingis, here's another question for you. Does this make the Celtics the favorite in the East?
Probably.
Okay. And next week we'll be discussing power rankings and our top 5 teams. So we'll really find out from David at that point if the Celtics are the favorite in the East to take it. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall... Sorry, go ahead.
The only question I'll have left is, can Kristaps Porzingis stay healthy?
I hope so, man. They'll be a very cool team to watch if they do well. I hope that they mesh well. It doesn't always come together chemistry-wise. for some time, unless you can keep a team together for some time. But sometimes you see that it just works out fine. So, okay, and last but not least, Bronny James heart attack. My question on that for you is, will this affect where he goes in the draft? And is he going to have a future in the NBA?
I think there will be some effect on the draft. Heart conditions are rough. Like, Chris Bosh had to end his career early because of a heart condition.
Yep.
He's not the first player to do so. But that said, I mean, I still think he'll be. I still expect him to get drafted in the first round. I expect him to have a good career. I was actually reading an article about players of different sports having having heart conditions, and it seems like it's relatively, I wouldn't say common, but a lot less rare than people think. The article I read was from like the 1980s, and it was talking about all sorts of, particularly male athletes having heart conditions, and it seems like a lot of them do okay regardless of that.
Okay. I agree with you. I think he'll go in the first round. Do you think that LeBron still plans to plan it out so that he can go join Bronny at some point? He only made an extension with the Lakers till next year, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe that puts him as a free agent. He has said recently that his decision is to stay in Los Angeles, but you never know what LeBron's doing, man. One day it's, I don't want to make it. I can't make it past the Western Conference playoffs. I think I may retire. I have a lot to think about. And then the next day it's, LeBron's going to play till he's 50, right? So nobody can tell what LeBron James is going to do. I just wonder, is he going to join Bronny as he said before? Do you think that'll happen at some point?
Yeah, I think it'll happen.
Okay.
And I'm sure that the Lakers will play with the draft in order to get in the position to draft Bronny, and I expect them to stay in LA.
That'd be cool if they did that for LeBron specifically. I mean, I know it's not necessarily wise. You want to pick the best player you can in the draft, but if they can keep LeBron because of it, that would definitely make him happy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and the Lakers kind of have a reputation for keeping their biggest stars, happy. So, with Kobe, they paid him his last 3 years to sit on the bench, pretty much. So yeah, they have that reputation. So I expect them to make moves, maybe trade a few draft picks or something. Sorry, trade 4 draft picks to have them both play together.
They don't have much left. I think they only have 1 first-round pick, if even that. They may have traded that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, any other topics you want to discuss?
What do you think is going on with Zion Williamson? I saw he was getting sued for $1.8 million.
Yeah, and that was for a loan that he hadn't paid back? Is that correct? Yeah. No, I think he got a loan from somebody and then never paid back the loan. I don't know. He had paid back a portion of it. I believe that's what it is. I only briefly saw it, but I think he only paid back $200,000 of the $1.8 million loan.
Yeah, so he made a repayment of $500K, but $300,000 of that was just interest on this loan.
Yeah, it's kind kind of funny, man, with everything that's going on in the news for him. I just thought he would have been such a good player. Now I'm so disappointed in Zion. When he's on the floor, he's really good. But man, this whole mental health and having to be in a good place to play basketball just kind of ruins the game.
Yeah,
that's my thoughts.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, if I could get paid what a basketball player makes, I mean, I would pretty much do just about anything. You know, obviously there are limits, but I would do just about anything. If somebody said, you know, we're gonna pay you this much, and I would make sure that I always had a positive, positive PR, so that people will want to keep paying me that much. I don't know. It just kind of baffles me.
Spot on, man. Thank you, viewers, for joining us this evening. We appreciate you hanging with us through this. We appreciate the view. If you like the content you listen to here, please hit that thumbs up. It really does help. Please subscribe, follow along, and share with your friends. And we will hope to see you in future segments. Talk to you next week.
Bye.